Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, students at one Central Kentucky university are forced to evacuate after authorities respond to a threat. Plus, the father of an alleged school shooter in Georgia has pleaded not guilty to charges related to the killings.
And winter weather advisories are now slowly going into effect across eastern Kentucky. We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The snow has arrived in parts of eastern Kentucky, and with the sun setting and temperatures dropping, we want to check in with meteorologist Eric Dean on this first alert weather day for the latest. Eric's probably going to get worse before it gets better, right?
Most definitely, Steve, especially over the next couple of hours as that next round of snow will start to push its way into eastern Kentucky. And with that being said, winter weather advisories are now going into effect across eastern Kentucky. Some are in effect right now. Some will go into effect at 6. Some will go into effect at 7. All of the advisories, though, with the exception of Dickinson and Buchanan County, will expire Friday morning. If you're in Dickinson and Buchanan County, yours expires Saturday morning. Here's a look outside right now. We're seeing mainly cloudy skies. We're getting a break from that snow. But take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar. It's inching ever so slowly into eastern Kentucky. The snow chances will start to ramp up as we go into the next several hours. And once it starts, it's not going to let up until we get into the morning hours of your Friday. And you can see there is a lot more associated with that as that low pressure system is pushing its way off to the north and east. Back behind it is all that snow that's across portions of central Indiana, even portions of Illinois. So over the next several hours, you can see that snow chance picking up. Feels like temperatures will stay in the upper teens and low 20s throughout the overnight hours. And then as we go into your Friday morning, again, it's out of here by about the 9-10 o'clock time frame, maybe a little bit more across the eastern part of the viewing area as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. But all in all, the bottom line, if you have to travel tonight or tomorrow, just please allow yourself extra time to get to your destination. I'll have the complete first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. Of course, we are getting our first snowfall of the season here in eastern Kentucky. We have some video of the snow coming down right outside our station earlier this afternoon. This was, of course, the first round. The big round is later on. We've also received a few calls from viewers saying they've also received some snow and seen some pictures of it even sticking to the ground already, especially in those higher elevations. A threat forced an evacuation at Kentucky State University in Frankfort today. The threat was called in just after 8 o'clock this morning. Police have not released the details of the threat other than it was a bomb threat. Police and school leaders worked to move students to secure locations while police swept the campus building by building. Police have not released the motive for the threat. Classes will resume as normal tomorrow. Actor Jussie Smollett had his conviction for lying about a hate crime overturned. The Illinois State Supreme Court issued a ruling overturning a Cook County conviction and subsequent appellate court decision about the former Empire actor's case. The court acknowledged the significant public interest and dissatisfaction about the original resolution. However, they believe it was unjust. The father of a reported school shooter in Georgia has pleaded not guilty to charges related to the killings. Colin Gray is charged with 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder. In the indictment, the grand jury said Gray gave his son, Colt Gray, access to a firearm and ammunition, even though there had been sufficient warning from the 14-year-old that he would harm others. Last month, Colt Gray pleaded not guilty to the 55 charges he faces. The Supreme Court says it will not halt the execution of Alabama death row inmate Carrydale Grayson. Grayson had argued that Alabama's use of nitrogen gas to carry out the death sentence is cruel and unusual punishment. Alabama officials disagreed, calling it painless. The court sided with the state, and the execution will go on as scheduled tonight. The 50-year-old Grayson is serving time for the 1994 killing of hitchhiker Vicky DeBlue. The Justice Department says an East Tennessee man found guilty of assaulting a police officer during the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack has been convicted in a separate case. Edward Kelly was convicted yesterday for conspiring to murder FBI agents involved in the investigation into his role in the assault on the Capitol. The DOJ says Kelly created a kill list targeting 37 agents and others involved in the investigation. President-elect Donald Trump is working on a new pick for Attorney General nominee now after Matt Gaetz, the former congressman who was his first choice, withdrew from consideration amid claims of sexual misconduct. CBS's Torian Small has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Embattled former Congressman Matt Gaetz announced he's withdrawing his name for consideration to be President-elect Trump's Attorney General. He wrote on social media, "There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one."
I just heard about it, so I don't know any of the details.
Your initial reaction?
But just relief.
Trump chose Gaetz despite allegations he attended 10 to 15 sex parties in the past that included illicit drugs. Gaetz is also accused of having sex with a minor, allegations he's denied. Wednesday, Gaetz worked to convince senators to confirm him anyway.
Remember, for all these guys, there's a process. It's the advise and consent process, and we're going to go through that.
Thursday, attention on Capitol Hill focused on Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense, an Army veteran and Fox News host who has also been accused of sexual misconduct. Pete Hegseth met with senators and addressed a 2017 police report. The accuser, referenced as Jane Doe, reported feeling like she had been drugged and recalls saying no a lot while in a hotel room with Hegseth. She says he prevented her from leaving and that he was on top of her. Hegseth told police he was buzzed but not intoxicated. The encounter was consensual and that the woman seemed regretful after sex, but he did not elaborate.
The matter was fully investigated and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
Hegseth later settled a lawsuit with Jane Doe, saying he did so in order to not ruin his career. Torian Small, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The House Ethics Committee was deadlocked in a vote Wednesday about whether to release its report looking into Matt Gaetz's sexual misconduct claims. The chair of the committee, Congressman Michael Guest from Mississippi, says Gaetz's decision to withdraw his nomination should end the question of whether or not the report should be released. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's going to chair a subcommittee that will work with the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency. The department, known as DOGE, is being led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Greene's subcommittee would focus on oversight. The creation of DOGE is part of a broader effort by incoming President Donald Trump to make drastic cuts to the federal government. Russian President Vladimir Putin says a Russian strike in Ukraine on Thursday was carried out by an experimental non-nuclear ballistic missile. In a statement, Putin said it was in response to the use of American and British long-range weapons. Putin says one of the newest Russian medium-range missile systems was also tested. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for the Prime Minister of Israel. The Netherlands-based court said it found reasonable grounds to believe Benjamin Netanyahu used starvation as a method of warfare. They also say he bears responsibility for multiple crimes against humanity. Netanyahu's office calls the arrest warrant absurd and anti-Semitic. The court also issued a warrant for the Israeli defense minister and a Hamas official. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, a new survey finds bank customers still prioritize online and in-person services, but digital platforms are on the uptick. The pros and cons of traditional and online banking.
And we're seeing another round of snow push through eastern Kentucky. We'll time everything out with Future View in a few minutes.